Is he gonna bark? Our dog is, yeah, he's growling. Front window.
Yeah.
Waiting for the postman's out there.
Now, I don't understand this. We have this
More
emotionally needy Portuguese water dog who loves everybody. All he
Everyone.
wants is that you will love him. That is all he asks for.
We had friends
He's like
that-
your creepy ex-boyfriend who's constantly asking, do you love me? Do you love me? It's just like that. Except for two people in this world.
And our postman is one of them.
Perfectly nice guy.
Nice guy.
Looks like a perfectly nice person.
Big tall guy wears shorts just to say,
I know it's snowing. I don't care.
I don't care. Barks and barks and barks at him. And then we had a substitute post person, and they came, and he had a big beard, looks totally different. Not a peep.
Huh. And then back to our blonde one, and he barks like he's going to rip somebody's arm off.
Like he's a mass murderer.
I think it's clear that our postman is a serial killer.
I think he is.
I don't see another explanation at this point.
Plus, our mail's late sometimes, and so maybe that's it.
I'm sure that's what Gil is basing his character assessment
All
on.
right, so let's talk about taxes and such.
I don't want to.
We're still getting taxed up. First of all, I love you so much for keeping us out of prison.
Thank you that your standards are so low. I appreciate
and
that.
handling the finances of the family.
Did you see that thing we told you about last week where 28% of us would give up sugar if it meant we didn't have to do our own taxes? 25% would give up Netflix. I'm like, Netflix, yes, sugar, no.
No, there's no way in hell.
But you know what? If this stuff freaks you out, don't feel bad because it makes, I think, most of us feel freaked out. I mean, the big adult things like taxes and buying a house and figuring out your credit, this is all stuff that we aren't automatically born knowing.
And
fortunately, there are smarter people than us.
And his name is Jeff Stout.
From Fink McGregor. Okay, sometimes it's easier just to start at the very beginning, Jeff, because here you are, master of all you survey at finkandmcgregor.com, and it's true. And in a lot of ways, you really are the final step. It's like once you're ready to go to a mortgage, there's a lot of stuff you should have been doing first. And I think for everybody, credit and credit scoring and how you build credit and all the stuff you do, it's really intimidating. Yeah. I mean, I remember my dad trying to lecture me about this when I was 16, and I'm like, okay, Dad. And, you know, at 25, I was acutely aware and really sorry I hadn't paid more attention. Yeah. So is that one of the reasons that you wrote the book? Because it's a lot of fun to read. And you're actually pretty kind in it. You don't say you're really incredibly stupid a lot, which I'm sure every now and then you've wanted to. But
well, everybody has their own situation. But I mean, the first thing I'll say about credit is nobody cares about it until they need it. Mm-hmm. And when they need it, it's kind of too late, you know. So yeah, I wrote the book because I found myself saying the same things over and over and over and over to people. And so I just started taking notes on it, you know. And it was a kind of a long-term hobby almost of putting all this together. But I just felt like there was a need for it because I would see the same questions, the same mistakes, the same misunderstandings, the same advice that I was just doing repeatedly.
So really, this could just save you like an endless amount of exhaustive repetition if people would just pay attention earlier.
Well, that was the idea, and now I repeat talking about the book all the time. So,
so really, nothing's escaped.
No, but it's good. I give them to my clients as soon as after their mortgage closes. I mail them a copy.
That's smart.
Yeah, and
well, let's start with the first step. What is the first step in the credit games?
Well, first of all, GAMES is an acronym for the 5 steps.
Ah, okay.
So G, get a copy. A, analyze. M, make a plan. E, execute the plan. And S, start over, because sometimes you've got to go back to the first after you've gone all through everything. Mm-hmm. So G is get a copy. So the first thing you want to do is get a copy of your mortgage report. Now, the best place to get a copy of the mortgage report is not necessarily where you think it is, you know, the free credit report places that you see. First of all, some of them are not free, and if they want your credit card information to give you a free copy, that's probably a red flag and something you need to stay away from. And then there are other ones that will indeed give you a free copy in exchange for your information, which they'll probably use for marketing purposes, but they give you a credit report that is not a real credit report.
Now explain that, because you would think, well, yeah, it says Experian on it. I mean,
well, if it says Experian, it probably is. if it says from Experian. But so these companies, they'll give you what's called a consumer score, or else they'll give you a score that they've tried to approximate based on the data in the credit report.
Interesting. Okay.
So in other words, they'll get the data from the credit bureau, but then they'll kind of make up a score based on how they think it would be scored.
So yeah, the freecreditreport.com sites, maybe, maybe not. So are you saying you should go directly to the big three and try to get a copy there?
Well, there's actually a website that the government forced the credit bureaus to make available a free copy of your credit once a year.
I bet they hate that.
They probably did. I mean, I wasn't in the boardroom, but I don't imagine they liked it. I mean, they've always been really secretive about things, but times change and they've kind of had to open up a little bit.
Good.
But anyway, it's called annualcreditreport.com.
Annualcreditreport.com. Okay.
And you can get 1, 2, or 3 credit bureaus pulled. The law says that you're entitled to 1 free copy of your credit report once per year. So if you want, you can just go pull Experian one time, a few months later pull TransUnion, a few months later pull Equifax, and you would do that if you're, for example, looking to see if a certain item you're trying to get deleted from your credit, if it got removed. Instead of pulling all 3 each time, you can spread it out that way.
Good point.
Now, they will not give you a score for free. You can buy a score, and it was like $8 or something like that, which is fine because it doesn't count as a credit pull on your credit score, but it
Which is
is
a
a
deal,
real FICO score, which is the one that a mortgage company would use in qualifying you for a mortgage. So people get a free credit report, or they have some credit service, that gives them an update. And so, I talk to people and they'll say, well, my credit is 780, and I'll pull it up and like, well, it's 710. What happened? I just pulled it yesterday. I'm like, is it a FICO score? I don't know, well, it's probably not. And I ask where they got it, and they'd say one of the popular companies that does it. I'm like, yeah, that's not a real score.
I was doing so much better than I
Yeah, and sometimes they're higher, but usually the ones I pull are going to be lower than the ones you see on there.
I would assume that based on the credit companies. It's funny because you talk about it for a mortgage, but I think the credit reports are getting scarier and scarier in terms of the kind of power they have. I don't think people realize that a lot of times that could determine your job, whether you get a certain job. It could determine health care. There's a myriad of different things now that they are basing on your credit score, and thus your trustworthiness or your desirability. So it turns into a big thing.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, so first, G, get the report. So A, analyze. What do you do next? Because it's a lot of numbers. I've looked at them before.
There's a lot of numbers. But if you do get the real credit report, it has on there, right near the score, what are called derogatories. And derogatories, what that means is these are the reasons your score isn't higher. And they're listed in order of impact. So the first item on the derogatory list is the one that's affecting your score the most.
So you want to tackle that one first.
If you can. I mean, sometimes it's like you had a bankruptcy, and so, well, you can't really tackle that other than wait, But if it is, for example, that your balance of on revolving accounts is too close to the limit, you can pay that down. And you pay it down, as soon as that billing cycle goes through again, your score's automatically
Interesting.
raised. Yeah.
So what else should you be doing on the analysis?
Well, you want to go through there and figure out what the biggest impact items on there are, and because it might be late payments or collections, it might be a bankruptcy or foreclosure, it might be your revolving accounts, it might be just late payments, it might be that you have some judgments on there, it might be that you don't have enough credit, and so we get all that information. And the book tells you how to do that, basically, and what to look for and what these different things mean. And then based on that, then we go to the next step, which is make a plan. So the plan, of course, is going to be different for everybody depending on what comes up on the credit report and through the analysis of what we need to do. And the other thing that's part of the plan is what's our time frame? I mean, are we looking to buy a house in 4 months, or are we just in general, we just want to improve our credit over the long term, because some things take longer than others, and some things are quick fixes that don't necessarily reflect a long-term health thing. For example, if you're just paying down some revolving, but you're borrowing money from your dad to do it just so your score goes up, well, that's not a long-term solution, but it is a short-term solution.
So you're seeing galactic mistakes on your report, because which I have before. What do you do then when you're like, no, I actually don't have this account, or I have no idea what this is? I mean, how exhausting is it to get them to correct the account for you?
It's not that hard usually. I mean, sometimes they dig their feet in and they're stubborn, but they being whoever reported it. So what you have to do is initiate a dispute, and you can do it online. If you pull the report online from them, you can do it straight there, or you can send them in a letter, and the account reporter, whoever put that in there, has 30 days to respond. So if ABC lending company reported a late payment and you say that is absolutely not late, or this is not my account, or whatever, you send the notice into the credit bureau saying this is not my account, it showed up here, please remove it from my credit report.
I always picture it as like a years-long ordeal, so that
Well,
makes me feel better.
it can be, just because you might have to go several rounds. And what credit repair companies generally do is they do make it last a long time. And part of that is probably self-serving, but part of it is also, if you automatically dispute everything on your credit report, there is a rule that the credit reports can go to that says this is a frivolous request, and they'll kind of blacklist you.
Ooh, not good.
So you got to be careful about not just automatically disputing everything on there. So maybe you do 3 or 4 items on there, and then once you get the results back, maybe you want to do a second round on some other stuff. And so, I mean, there's reasons it can take longer. It just
So there is
depends.
technique involved here. I did not know that.
Yep.
We've made our plan.
Yep.
Now we're going to execute.
Yep.
Tell me about execution.
So that just depends on what the plan is, but if it's writing letters, then you write letters and wait for them to come back and take the next steps based on that. It might be that you need to establish more credit, you know, so you get a credit card, you get an account at the credit union, and make payments on that and try to do things to build the credit. It might be dealing with collections. And one of the things that people don't understand about collections is that paying a collection doesn't help your credit, which is counterintuitive, I know.
That's depressing. I know. You would think, okay, I've taken care of this.
Right.
Go away, but it
No,
doesn't.
because they go off, if there's a collection account on your credit, and they also go off the date of last activity. So even worse, adding insult to injury, if you pay off a collection and they update the date of activity, it can negatively affect your credit score. So this is the screwy thing about collections. And so what I tell people...
This is so mean.
Yeah, it's been... I tell people to call the collection agencies and negotiate with them to delete the account if they pay it. Take it completely off the credit, because that's the only thing that's going to help your score.
Can they do that, or will they do that usually?
They can absolutely do it. Some of them will do it. Some of them, they'll tell you they can't do it. And some of them will say, yeah, no problem, it'll take 30 days when you send me the check. So it's a little bit of a crapshoot, and it's you might get half of them to do it. So if you got 10 collections on there, call them up.
That's
I mean,
still
don't just
5
pay 'em.
less, yeah.
Call, you know, because the more you get off of there, it's like you're in a hot air balloon and you're throwing sandbags off of it. You know, all those collections account, you want to get them off of there so that your credit score can rise as you add good stuff on there and take the bad stuff off.
That's a really smart trick. I don't know if I've ever heard that. Anything else that you should be doing once you're into the execution?
Well, it's kind of individual, you know, it depends, but you know, the general rule of thumb is get rid of bad stuff, add good stuff, you know. So sometimes it's just a matter of time. It's just, you know, make sure your payments are on time and you don't put, you know, more sandbags in your balloon.
I think a lot of people do miss 1 or 2 payments and don't really think about it, or they pay them late, and it's like, oh, well, and you never realize until you actually look at your score, oh, that really hurt me a lot.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
What's the single biggest thing that dings your credit that people may not know about? Is there something that you can overlook, or that you might be shocked just popped up as something really awful?
Well, something that comes up, I think people get surprised by, is child support payments. You know, not anything, but if it's usually if the ORS gets involved, then they'll put it on your credit report, and then all of a sudden you get nailed with that. You know.
Interesting.
So I mean, if there's a judgment on there, you know, I mean, it's like most of that stuff just doesn't go away. You know, and another misunderstanding I think is that collections collection is a collection, okay? Your credit report and your credit score doesn't care if it's medical. And so that's a real big misunderstanding because people say, well, I got some, but they're medical. Yeah,
They don't care.
no, that doesn't matter, sorry.
That's too bad because medical is one of the hardest ones to really overcome for
Well,
almost
it is,
anybody.
yeah, it is.
All right, so you've gone through these steps and you're like working towards building something better. And then the final one you say, though, is to start over.
Right.
Exactly why and how?
Well, because once you do all that stuff and you get from point A to whatever point B is, then that's when you want to go back and re-pull your credit score and say, okay, where am I now? Do I need to go forward with more of this? Am I good to go? Am I on the right path? And sometimes, you know, and that's kind of a catch-all too, sometimes starting over means completely redoing everything because you're getting a divorce or you're in some life situation, you know, where you need to literally start over with things. So.
Well, at least you know the steps now, though, so it's not as bad. I think the second time you do anything is always twice as quick because now at least you know what you're
Yeah.
doing. And it makes more sense.
Yeah, and that's why we're just trying to lift the veil off this mysterious credit thing.
Is there one of the three that is harder to work with than the others? For some reason, TransUnion was when we had a credit ding because somebody had stolen our identity. And they seemed to be the ones who would never actually believe me, even with all the reports and everything else, this was an issue. Is there one that's harder to work with than another, do you
Well,
think?
not consistently, but you know, interestingly enough, in my experience, TransUnion has been the most lax on sending in disputes.
That's ominous.
And I'd say Experian was the worst. But not every time. I mean, sometimes it's like you just don't know.
So basically, this is flawed or not. These are the three companies that could determine a lot of our life, and
Yep.
so you have to work it with one way or another. So at least you figured out the steps to work under whatever the restrictions have been placed for us.
Sure. I mean,
So it makes more sense.
Credit bureaus serve a purpose. You know, everybody loves to hate them, and I totally get that. You know, but they're there to assess risk, and that's all it is. It's like this is a number that is a statistical test of the risk of default. So what are the chances that this borrower is going to default on a loan? And that's really all a credit score is.
Okay. So it's called The Credit Games, 5 Simple Steps, Better Credit for Life. It is from my friend Jeff Stout here at Fink McGregor. Where can they get the book if they don't want to wait until
It's on
they run
Amazon.
through with you? Okay. So on Amazon.com?
Yeah, on Amazon.com, The Credit Games.
Can you get it on Kindle? I'm big on Kindle.
It is not on Kindle.
Oh, Jeff.
I don't think. Maybe it is.
I
have
bet
to
it
look.
is. I'll have to go look too. All right. And Jeff has been very generous. He's actually given us 5 of these books to give away. So for the next 5 people who give a comment here on the show today, you get a copy of the book, and you totally lucked out because it's a good one. So our friend Jeff Stout, fink-mcgregor.com. If you want a copy of The Credit Games, once again, make a comment on the show today. You could be lucky, or it really is just easier to go to Amazon.com and get your own. The Todd and Erin Daily Stream is brought to you by PC Laptops, with desktops and laptops starting as low as $7.99 with a lifetime parts and service warranty. They fix phones too. Go to PCLaptops.com.
Tell me something good.
Oh man, this is going to catch everybody's breath, so just go with me here.
Okay.
You've got a 5-year-old daughter, an 8-year-old daughter.
Got it.
They're wearing pink rubber boots.
Love them.
They have some granola bars. They disappear from your house. They
What?
disappear
What?
from your house.
For how long?
2 days, 48 hours.
Holy crap.
This is the most terrifying thing that I can possibly imagine. There's a very cute picture of the little girls that their mom had put out on the Have You Seen
They're
Us poster.
together. They're together.
And terrified beyond anything you can imagine. The little ones apparently were just out walking. Their parents live in a fairly rural area, and they got lost.
No, wait. They did have some training.
Well,
I understand.
They had 4-H club. And so they had learned some survival training with their 4-H group.
There you
And
go.
it was incredible, so that they didn't move around too much. They were smart. They tried to stay in the right place. But this was what they call in rescue parlance as an extreme environment, which usually means cliffs like this and,
Cold.
incredibly rocky and brutal.
Ooh.
2 days later, they found them dehydrated, but in good spirits. You can see their little sassy faces in the ambulance.
Oh, no.
But can you imagine being their parents? And here's the weird thing. Here's the weird thing. They were only 1.5 miles and a quarter away from their house.
Right.
But the thing about this is this shows you how long it takes to comb an area and how you have to go over it, and especially when it's a really rugged, brutal area, and there's ways you can't go up one direction or you can't go down another.
Right.
It takes a long time to put it together, but apparently firefighters found the girls following their boot prints.
They followed their little rubber boot
Their little
prints.
boot prints and wrappers from granola bars.
Like breadcrumbs.
And so the wrappers showed us a direction from where they started and to where the wrappers ended up at, and we were able to follow the boot prints from there.
And you know what this is?
What?
This is the definition of grounded for life.
Oh my gosh, our Zoe just turned 8 yesterday, and it's
Grounded for life.
But you see their parents here and the body language of just their response of seeing their children. It's
Grounded.
So this is a good
For
day.
life.
This is a good day, but it was very sweet. All the rescue guys said we didn't get a lot of sleep for the last 48 hours, but this is a good thing. And here's the thing that's amazing about rescue workers. I just want to point out, because our friend Jared is one of them.
Yes.
You have to remember that a huge majority are volunteer, and they'll go out and they spend any amount of time doing inconceivable hardship to help find people.
Never on a sunny day.
They have to go back to work the next day.
Right.
It's not like they get to take the day off and go, hey, and everyone's going to bask in my... They could just go back to work like nothing happened. These are incredible people.
Plus, they buy their own equipment.
It's amazing.
Get a hold of one of these people. They take donations.
Yes.
There you go. The Iditarod.
Oh, it's a noble sport.
Where'd the name come from? Is it
Well,
Native American? Or is
maybe it's Inuit?
I don't know. But the deal is that you have dogs and you go for like 1 billion miles. And they mush. And you mush behind them in a sled. And more than once, the dogs have crossed the finish line without a human.
We didn't feel like stopping. We were in the zone.
I kid you not.
Really?
They just fall off, and they have a drag line. They drag, so in case you can grab it. But a lot of the guys and the women fall asleep on the sled.
Oh, man,
Just-
yeah.
Just the dogs, just like, hey, it's lighter. We can go faster, and off they go.
That's amazing.
So there is a lot of, and there's some controversy because these dogs are made to pull. I mean, if you've ever been around a true husky, their job is.
Well, you and I
just-
both had a chance to be on one of the Iditarod style sleds.
Yeah, and
up in Cache Valley, and it was an
It's frightening.
unbelievable experience.
It is
the
so
velocity of these animals is crazy.
It's so amazing, and that's all they want to do. So anyway, they have a lot of professionals there, a lot of veterinarians. They take their vacation, they go up there. They make sure they take care of the dogs, make sure they're not their dogs.
The paws, the injury.
They're looking at them and doing all this stuff, and they're also drug testing the dogs.
This is like that story yesterday where they drug tested the bridge players, isn't it?
I know. Like bridge as in cards.
Cards.
These dogs run hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of miles, and they need to be drug tested at random. Like they'll go, hey, you over there.
I've got a cup, and you almost look like you're about to lift your leg, something like that.
No, what do they call them?
Wow, that's seizing the moment.
They call them the pea catchers. Well, there's a job.
What'd you do on your vacation? Well,
Yeah.
spent some time in Alaska.
I just like the whole thing. It's like, we're going to test you right over there. And they're like, oh, no. You know, and it's like the Lance Armstrong of dog racing. And so anyway, so that's what happens. And afterwards, they do drug tests on them as well. Make sure they don't have enhancing drugs.
Do they find a lot? I really hope they don't. I mean, I don't care what you do to yourself as
Enough
a
to
human,
make
but
it,
you wouldn't do to
enough
an
to
animal,
make
right?
it a concern. So they'll give them pain meds and stuff because they can endure more and stuff like that. So most of the things are things to keep them up and keep them going, and the other drugs are to numb anything that hurts so they can keep going, which is bad. But
Yes, that's terrible.
most people follow the rules. Most people love their dogs.
And for the pea catchers, we salute you because
Patience, patience. Do you get a bucket of warm water and put their paw in it? How do you do it? I'm impressed by you.
Now this is so weird because I had barely read this news story last night where there was that house and 2 of the cars were on fire.
Oh, I know, West Jordan.
And that was
Holy
really scary,
mackerel.
just like, and so you would assume that 2 cars don't spontaneously just catch fire in a driveway, right?
Criminal activity. And then the first thing you say is, Mr. Johnson. Let's say that the guy's name is Mr. Johnson. Now, one car is in the driveway, another car is out front. And they both,
Oh, so it's not even like a spark could catch one to the other. They were separate.
both caught on fire. And the first thing you say to someone is there anyone out there who would have any kind of problem with you.
A grudge, perhaps.
A grudge, perhaps.
Ill words spoken between you.
He said, yeah, my ex-girlfriend. So they evidently had some video cameras, neighbors' houses, their houses.
Gas can.
They got a little video of her coming out of her car holding a gas can and pouring it on the hood of the car.
That'd be the first clue that it was a bad breakup.
You think? So, ex-girlfriend lighting car on fire.
Anger management issues.
You think?
Conflict resolution skills could perhaps be sharpened.
I mean, maybe he's a jerk, but you don't light someone's car on fire. It was his daughter's car, the one on the street, so she's going after the entire family.
Okay.
So
Maybe other ways to do it.
Don't be that way.
Write an angry country song.
Oh,
Perform
nice.
it at open mic night.
Nice.
Work it through with your friends.
Let Satan take the wheel.
Don't
something
use
like
a
that.
gas can.
Okay. All
Okay,
right.
that's good. Okay. Drones. This is so cool.
No, this scares me.
Now, remember they broke the story last year about Amazon.com and how it was already test marketing using drones to deliver
Phoenix.
packages.
In Phoenix.
And they were also doing it in like further outlying rural areas, seeing if this is something that they could move along faster so that they didn't have to drive long miles just to drop off like 1 or 2 packages.
Okay.
And so it's been pretty successful, but now they're looking for like more of a large scale launch. So they picked the Utah State University Aggies. They picked They picked their drone team. There's only a dozen different groups. And
I mean, flyers?
Here's
the flyers.
Yeah, but here's the cool thing. It's actually going, instead of through Amazon.com this time, it's going through NASA. Now, they call the Utah State University group Aggie Air, and these are all their experienced drone operators. And they're doing a massive test, a massive launch test, out in Reno, Nevada at one of the Air Force bases. And it's really cool. The professor of electronic and computer engineering at the USU says Aggie Air flies in manned airspace with pilots, and we're part of the idea that if you can get unmanned aerial systems to fly and benefit society, why wouldn't you take out the human calculation and risk? And so this is really cool. Deseret Unmanned Aerial Systems and Tool is also taking part in the demonstration. But this is cool because we're talking about these 2 little plucky groups, and they got picked from gigantic companies. The other people that are competing with them are General Electric and Uber.
Right.
And our little guys are going to be out there with their drones kicking some butt. So this is really exciting, though.
I can see this turning ugly. I
Drones
can see
going
this
after each other.
I think little drone on drone action.
Drone warfare. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Drones carrying gas cans. No, it's going to be cool though. I just thought it was really cool that 2 of our smaller groups were the ones that got picked against these monster, major corporations.
All right.
There you go, guys.
This other story is amazing to me because the unemployment rate is so low that, for once, workers
Get to have a choice.
We can look at better jobs and move around and work our way up in the ladder.
Why are you
which is
saying
great.
we? Because the only person you're working with here is me. So when you say we, like you might be moving up the ladder, what were you thinking?
So anyway, it's Sonic.
Sonic Burger.
Sonic Burger.
One of the last fast food restaurants that has car hops where you go out, you can park, and someone brings out your food to you.
Right.
But I want you to think about that. Todd and I actually obsessively tip because we were serving in college. So if there's an opportunity to tip, we'll usually do it.
Yeah, you take care of people.
How many people do you know who tip at fast food restaurants, even if there's a car hop? Like
Never.
Hires has one too.
Very few people, I would imagine.
Well, there were three major Sonics in Ohio, and the reason why this made national news is because of how it's handled. We're bought out by a new company. The new company told the employees...
When you say company, you mean a person, right?
Yeah, a new person.
A person.
Who basically told the employees, we're cutting your wages from Ohio's minimum wage, which is only $8.55 an hour. You try to support somebody on $8.55 an hour.
Right.
We're going to cut you to $4 plus tips. Now, here's the crucial designation. You can do that if you say, I'm a restaurant and they get to make tips, so I don't have to pay full minimum wage.
Oh.
So they
Okay, so they screwed everybody over.
And there's no way, because nobody can live on the quarter you might get as a tip. So
what do you do?
all 3 of them quit en masse, all 3 restaurants, and left signs in the door saying, this is what happened, this is why we're gone, they suck, which is, I think, reasonable. Now, here's the funny thing. So they reached out, of course, to the National Sonic going, dude, this sucks, man. They just did this to the employees. What's your thought?
Kidding me?
And they put out this, and this is the classic thing of how you handle an emergency when you're in public relations.
Okay, all right.
They put out a fake thing going, Under new, well, no, it's real, but I'm saying, listen to how false and insincere this sounds.
Okay.
Under new management, guests in the community can look forward to improved service and the famous food, beverages, and treats for which Sonic is known.
Sonic.
Employees working for the local drive-in can look forward to fun, fast-paced work that they can find as a career if they should wish.
$4 an hour.
Okay, once again, lady, you're missing the crucial point here, which is none of that's going to happen because they're all closed down and everyone's gone. But number two, there's nothing fun or fast-paced about earning $4 an hour with the occasional 25-cent tip.
Tell me something happened.
All right, so this is what happened. One day later, when they realized the enormity of what happened, at
Right,
least they
right.
stepped up and they went, "Thank you for the inquiry about the 8." Oh, goodness. It was 8 Sonic drive-ins in the Ohio market that changed ownership.
Oh, my God.
We just bought all of them for the Sonic Major Holding Company. So
They
they
bought
apparently
them- they
bought
bought
them
them
all
all
back.
back.
We recognize changes like this can be difficult for employees to understand. Wow, that's really condescending. I think you can understand earning $4 an hour.
Right.
And most current employees, that sounds ominous, will have the opportunity to continue working at the drive-in under new management. Then went back to the same line of management. Look forward to improved service, famous food, blah, blah,
I
blah.
want to know the person's name.
Now, here's the important thing, though. They did say no wage rates at any level decreased as a result of this recent transition, and car hops may continue to receive tips above their hourly wages. This is interesting, though. As an additional change, employees are allowed to have their checks direct deposited, and there will be bonuses for management.
Yeah, oh.
Which, once again, still doesn't do much for the guys, but at least they brought their salaries back up.
Now, I
But
think,
it's like,
I think the big part of the story
yes,
is the fact that everybody quit at the same time. Now, that is
that's a unifying movement.
that
Poverty is a unifying
frightening.
thing.
We happen to know a gentleman and worked at a resort hotel. We'll just leave it there. And it had over 200 units. Okay, so
Massive hotel, lots of condominiums attached.
resorty kind of place. And he walked in one morning, and it was a union issue. And he walked in, and he was the only worker there.
And the hotel was almost full with guests.
Cleaning staff, cooks.
Everybody.
Just keep going, keep going. People working the register. Everyone
He called like all of his friends, his neighbors.
was gone.
Like his kids. I mean,
That's so
everyone
funny.
came in trying to. Can you
Oh
imagine?
my gosh. Changing rooms, changing sheets, doing the whole job. Everyone leaves at once. That's a little frightening. Anyway.
There is unity and rage. Hey, don't forget, if you haven't bought your tickets yet for the Todd and Erin Psychic Fair, please remember to do that. They will sell out in advance. It is Friday, March 22nd. We're like 2.5 weeks away.
I know.
And this is the largest collection of amazing, talented psychics along the Wasatch Front. There's body care, there's massages, all kinds of things to shop for, things to nibble on. It's going to be an amazing night, and it's only $5 for admittance.
$5.
But you do have to get your
The
tickets.
future is yours.
You can do that. Just go to our page, the Todd and Erin Dailystream.com. You'll see all the information there. Or you can go to Eventbrite for events, and you'll see it there as well.
All right. Thanks for watching. Please share the show because it annoys many people. And we'll see you tomorrow on the Todd and Erin Daily Stream.
$4 an hour.
Everyone quits at the same time.
I can just picture flipping to McCoy going, "Hey, buy yourself something pretty."
I think they all came in and they all put their hand in. We quit on 3. 1, 2, we quit.
Seriously.
That's such a great feeling. What rebels.
It
That
would be
is-
worth it. I mean,
that'd
you
be
know,
so
you have to
cool.
go find another job, but
See you guys.